How are you doing today? We're in chapter 4, and we're talking about permanent runoff control. It it's interesting we're talking about this topic because as I was driving around in the city truck, I was looking at some of the stormwater features that we talk about, and I'm on call, and there is a big storm tonight. So you can tell it's a little dark out. The reason for that is got in and out of the rain. But one of the first features we have is grass swales. When you talk about grass swales, we need to be very cognizant of whether or not we want to construct a channel or just leave the pre-existing natural drainage way that's there. A grass swale has its benefits. It doesn't treat a lot of the water quality issues you have, but it is good for 10-year frequency storm, and they're used for drainage areas that are less than 10 acres and flat to gently rolling terrain. So you would see these in kind of a subdivision. These grass swales are known to be able to maintain or direct the stormwater in these types of subdivisions. Anytime that you have some sort of stormwater structure or permanent control, you need to have a maintenance plan. Who's going to mow it? Who's going to clean the storm drops? You can see on page 4, you can see a parabolic and a trapezoidal. A trapezoidal, I believe, from the book, can handle a higher velocity of water. A parabolic would be your lesser volume of water, and it gives a cross section of there. But just going over the maintenance, mow, which we all know, fertilize annually. You just want to make sure that you have a good head of grass there. Know your easements. Who's going to maintain that grass swale? Is it going to be the HOA or is it going to be you? A level spreader. I've not actually seen a level spreader, so I had to do some research on that, and that's on page 8. But the advantage of a level spreader is that it makes the water come up and go, from my understanding, as a sheet over the level splitter lip. What that does is it reduces the trenching or the natural velocity, and the stormwater comes over as a sheet and doesn't have that eroding type velocity to it. It says on page 10, use with pipe outlet protection. Level splitters can be used below pipe outlets where the flow can be converted to and continue as a sheet flow. However, pipe outlets must be stabilized without outlet protection prior to release of runoff in the level spreader. All your inlets and outlets, and I believe this is on one of your test questions, whether you have some sort of protection to keep the sediment from coming in, but you're also trying to protect the scouring of the water as it enters into a storm basin or when it goes to the outfall when it's discharged. Just because you're condensing it down into a pipe, and water has a unique way of cutting the earth. And so some way we need to protect that either by pouring a pad or rock, riprap. Speaking of rock, on page 14, you have a rock line channel. This would be good when it's steep grades or damaged by vehicles or animals, soil that's highly erosive. And so you can put that rock line channel in there to protect from that constant eroding of the water, especially on a steep incline. Planning considerations always, and this was pretty much on all of them. A construction permit may be required by the local government. Additionally, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Ohio EPA Protection Agency through sections 404 and 401, respectively, of the Clean Water Act may be required for a rock line channel. It gives the capacities there. I won't read all that. Once again, it has the trapezoidal maintenance. You know, it says mow vegetated area. I'm sure that's around the rock lined area, but also, you want to make sure that you don't have trees growing up in the rock line area, making it unsightly. Moving along, rock outlet protection. A lot of times in my work, I have to go out to these outfalls from subdivisions, and they will be, rocks or riprap there at the apron, um, and before it discharges into a stream. One thing that would be good is if you GIS those so that you know them, do an annual check. Because of the rocks and it's not getting mowed, trees like to grow up in them. It's better to get those when they're younger than to get them when they're a full grown tree. I would make ones on page 20. I would make one minor modification there. You might want to put a grate over there so an animal doesn't crawl up and die. Just I've seen that in the rock outlets that I've come across. Diversion. So I hope that we didn't miss any there. Diversion. So diversion is a permanent to control erosion and runoff of downslope development, runoff from higher areas causing off-site damage, and you can kind of see that it's a berm there, and it's directing the water away from high sensitive areas. We actually have one of these around a plant. It is a diversion supporting ridge. It says a supporting ridge. On the lower side, uses to divert excess water from one area for safe disposal of the other. Once again, determine who is the responsible party. Make sure if you are inspecting it regularly, mowing it, easements. Make sure that you don't have too many groundhogs burying holes in your diversion structure. Terrace. Terrace has been known. Farmers have used this, but the way the terrace works is you have a flat spot, steep, flat spot, steep, flat spot. And so people for years, farmers have used this to farm hillsides. But terrace also does a lot of these permanent selections are either reducing the velocity of the stormwater or diverting it to another location where it won't cause as much harm. Subsurface drain. So subsurface drain on page 38 is good when there's high water or high water level. You can put in corrugated pipe. When I built my house, I surrounded it with corrugated pipe. My driveway comes down at an angle, and my house sits like here. So I put two catch basins in and a perforated pipe to carry that away. Subsurface drains are a great way. Let's say if you have a park that holds water or a ball diamond that holds water to get that water out of there, especially if it's a high water table. I know locally we one of the municipalities built a a ball diamond on a wet flooded area just because nothing else could be built on there. And so once again, these subsurface drains where the water can percolate through and then discharge to a river or a stream is beneficial. It reduces mosquitoes. You know, if you have a low-lying area that gathers a lot of mosquitoes, it can reduce mosquitoes. Well, that's chapter 4. I hope you learned a little bit. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.